So Nintendo Switch 2 just got some great news, especially if you are somebody who is still looking for this console yourself, because as you're probably well familiar, when a very popular item comes to market, something that a lot of the user base of the Nintendo Switch has been waiting for, where you have 150 million plus users on the Switch ecosystem, and it's been out for over 8 years total, it can be hard to find these things, and we have some official comments from Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser that lays out what kind of stock levels Nintendo expects to be able to support during the launch of this console. There is also some rumor territory reporting going on in terms of how many units Nintendo has potentially shifted so far of the Switch 2, and it may indeed be an all-time record for any kind of console launch if these numbers check out. Then we do just have a quick little update on how publishers are feeling about Switch 2 game key cards, which is probably a big reason on why Nintendo also opted to do that, in addition to things like cost. And we have some confirmation about YouTube and its compatibility with the Switch 2 for any of you wondering about that. But we're going to break down all of this info, but before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here, and also stick around for a quick word from today's video sponsor. If you just picked up your Switch 2 or are about to, you're going to want to pay attention, because JSOX might be one of your go-to brands for accessory choices for your new console. They just dropped a full lineup of new gear designed exclusively for Switch 2, and it's everything you need to protect, play, and level up your handheld experience. To start with the essentials, you've got a shock-absorbent storage case that keeps your console safe wherever you go, and an anti-glare screen protector that cuts reflections while keeping the screen scratch-free. Next up, for comfort and grip, the ergonomic Battle Armor protective case adds rugged durability without the bulk, and the full cover controller case set gives you a more secure tactile feel while gaming. If you need more portability, grab the colorful ultra thin carrying case, super lightweight, super stylish, or go all in with the standard carrying case, which fits everything neatly. And for those of you like me with serious collections out there, there's a game card case that holds up to 40 games, multi-mode joystick caps for custom control, and even a racing steering wheel for a full arcade style setup. JSOX is known for smart functional design, and they're bringing that same energy to the Switch 2. So please help support the brands that support me, and check out all of your Switch 2 accessory needs in the pinned comment and description down below. Huge thank you to JSOX for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so I want to first kick off this conversation right over at VGC, where you can see the following article, which outlines exactly what was said in terms of stock level comments from Mr. Doug Bowser. Nintendo thinks it can meet Switch 2 demand in the US through 2025. Platform holder says a steady supply of Switch consoles is on its way to retailers. Following the console's launch on Thursday, most major US retailers are currently out of stock online, although some still have in-store availability. Speaking to CBS Mornings, Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser said the company will have a steady supply of Switch consoles making their way to retailers over the coming months. We have a steady supply of manufacturing that will be coming in, and we believe we'll be able to meet that demand all the way through the summer, through Father's Day, and then into the holiday period also. Bowser was also asked to justify the price of the Switch 2, which starts at $450 and Nintendo's most expensive console to date, and he had this to say. Well, first of all, the Nintendo Switch 2 is really built from the ground up, so we've included a number of new gameplay features and social features that I think fans will really enjoy, he said. From a gameplay perspective, we've upgraded processing power, so there's higher fidelity graphics that are much improved over the original Nintendo Switch. So clearly, with console launches big like this, you're used to seeing out of stock for a while, and while they're going to be sellout situations and you cannot find this console easily just walking into any retailer, I actually believe that Nintendo is going to pretty much meet the initial market demand for this console, which is something that historically we have just not seen executed on in the past. Now, I guess Nintendo just has the ability to source these because they've diversified where their production is coming from. Like we know, mainly Vietnam is where the US are getting their Switch 2s from, whereas China is doing a lot of the production for the other markets of the world. And while this is a US based story, I would expect Nintendo to globally kind of be able to support the Switch 2 without too much of an issue. And it's not to say that you can just casually go find it anywhere online at any time, but if you actually put in some work, you follow stock tracking accounts like Jake Randall, who really stays on top of restock dates and stuff like that, if you go looking for it, you're probably going to be able to find it. And if you're somebody who didn't get one over the launch weekend or anything like that, you might actually just want to go show up to some of your retailers or call them first and find out if they have in-store stock, because I am seeing some reports of people saying that Walmart's, Target's, Best Buy's, in some cases, still have these things sitting on their retail shelves. So while it's maybe a historical launch from a numbers perspective, Nintendo's really truly sticking to their words and trying to flood the market, so we do not have these kind of scalper situations like you typically see with the console. That's not to say that there aren't scalper listings, because clearly there are, but they're not really going to be the go-to option for a lot of people if you can easily find this thing clearly. Okay, now the next story I want to shout out friend of the channel, Nintendo Prime, as this is coming from him, so he's heard this from independent sources, and also shouts out Paul Gale Network, who was the first person to clue him in on this. But you can see his post over on X, which says, 24-hour launch sales. I now have heard from 3 independent people that Nintendo have globally shifted over 3 million Switch 2 units. This doesn't include any additional sales made today already and over the upcoming weekend. For perspective, no console has ever come close to that level of sales in 24 hours. Over a 24-hour launch, the previous record was held by PS4, which sold just over 1 million units worldwide. The 2-month total record is around 4.5 million units held by PS5 and PS4. Nintendo is on pace to beat that in less than a week. Sales of this magnitude have literally never been seen in console history. And let me tell you, as somebody who went out and actually lined up at my local Best Buy and saw about 200 people in line, that was something to be seen. And I saw pictures on social media everywhere that looked like that, not just from Best Buys, but from GameStops. And then of course we had all this walk-in. Target, the launch day, there was a restock that dropped. People were walking into Targets. Walmart was delivering early in the morning, actually living up to that promise of pre-9 a.m. delivery for a lot of people. And shout outs to them dropping off like a Coke and Pringles to celebrate the launch for free for people who ordered it through Walmart. So, clearly it was a massive moment in gaming history, and it's clear that a lot of units have been shifted. We'll have to wait and see if these numbers check out and become official, but I do believe that we are indeed looking at the largest gaming console launch in history, period, which is just kind of a crazy time to live through, right? So shifting gears from there, we do have the next headline you are seeing, and it kind of gives some insight into maybe why the game key card is as popular as it is this generation. We clearly know we are headed towards an all digital future for gaming, which is unfortunate to say as somebody who really enjoys collecting physical games. And if you've been around on the channel, you know my rule of thumb for this generation is I'm going digital for stuff that's a game key card, and I'm not for things that aren't. So first party Nintendo and select third party games I will be buying physically still, and the ones that are game key cards, you can technically resell your digital games, and that's cool, but the data is clearly not on that cartridge, and you have to download it from a server, aka 20 years in the future. If you want to boot that up, there's no guarantee that it's going to work if you don't already have it installed on your system. Well, you have this article from My Nintendo News that outlines publishers thankful to Nintendo for game key cards on Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2 game cards are a hot topic at the moment, and for good reason, with the vast majority of customers preferring the complete game on a standard cartridge rather than a digital download key. However, publishers have said that they are naturally pleased with Nintendo for providing game key cards, as it helps them lower the cost, as they don't have to purchase cartridges with 64 gigabytes of storage. The news was shared with Bloomberg by president of Japanese video game consultancy firm Kios Inc. And so not really a surprise with this one. Yes, if there is a cheaper option and you can get more net profit for your game sale, obviously developers are going to opt to go that way, or publishers rather. And outside of some few one-off companies that have really stuck by the physical cartridge and everything being on that physical cartridge, it does appear that we are going to see a lot of third-party game key cards this generation, as most of the games you pick up physically are that from a third-party perspective. Nintendo says they don't plan on using them themselves, and I don't think they will this generation, but this is one of those transitional periods where this could indeed be the last gaming generation we are looking at having physical as an option. Maybe we get one more and everything's a game key card, but you can clearly see the writing on the wall. And it's one of those situations too that with the game key card, the other downside is that you have to take up your console storage, because I'm already realizing after transferring a lot of my Switch 1 library to the Switch 2, I about have this thing filled up, and I just got it. So I will be on the hunt for some micro SD cards. I may make a separate video on accessories you need for the Switch 2 and stuff like that. Maybe we'll highlight that in more detail there. So get subscribed for staying up to date with all that stuff. But anyway, yes, the storage is a thing, and it's nice to play Mario Kart World on a cartridge and not have 20 plus gigabytes taken up on the internal memory. It is just on the cartridge. That's not the case with key cards, and largely cost is the reason. It seems like that rumor about there only being one cartridge size is checking out, and 64 gigabytes is largely probably more expensive for these publishers. I've heard rumors of up to $16 for one cartridge. If that is true, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But, if that is true, that's obviously a big cut to the bottom line of something like a $50 game. So the last quick update and headline I want to point out from My Nintendo News is YouTube confirms app will come to Nintendo Switch 2, and you do have like a YouTube representative just saying we're working with Nintendo to make YouTube available on Switch 2 soon. For a list of devices YouTube is available on, head over to their link. And anyway, this came up, of course, because as part of the backwards compatibility list, an app that is not supported, surprisingly, right now on your Switch 2 is YouTube, and you do have a bigger display on your Switch 2, so naturally, some people who watch YouTube on their Switch would want to do that on Switch 2, and up to this point you haven't been able to. You still can't right now, but it is nice to have official confirmation that YouTube's working on a Switch 2 app, because it's not there today, but it will be, and this is the first confirmation we've seen of that from Team YouTube themselves. So they are actively working on it. I'm sure we will get it at some point in the future. The question remains when, though. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of all the different launch time news of the Switch 2. Are you still on the hunt for a console yourself? Are you relieved to hear that maybe we will actually see adequate stock levels for this thing around the launch period and then afterwards? What do you think about the claim that Nintendo may have sold 3 million units in just a few days, like literally over the launch period in 24 hours? Do you think that may check out? Do you think it's maybe a little bit off? And how are you feeling about game key cards this generation? Are you opting into them if you're a physical collector, or are you choosing to kind of go more of a digital route this generation? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.